I would say that 2023 was a really strong year for new releases, and I'm excited to see what 2024 has to bring. Being honest, I think it's going to be a little bit hard to live up to what we got this year. And so it's kind of one of those weird things right now, because I understand that some other new releases have been kind of announced, but we're not probably going to actually get them in 2023. And so I guess those are probably going to roll over to 24, and so it seems like there's a lot of also really good stuff on the horizon that we're going to have to wait to see about. But just taking a look at what we've been able to smell through 2023, it's a very, very good year. And one more time, I just kind of want to go back and look at these, reflect on them, and just kind of highlight the best releases of the year, designer and niche. I think all of these are fantastic, and I think that they offer a lot of value. All of these kind of do something a little bit different, a little bit of a twist, and I think if you don't have them, you're going to feel as though you're missing out. A lot of these have already started to work their way over onto discounters, and that's always the way to go because retail prices are just getting higher and higher. So whenever you have the opportunity to buy them at a lower price, I always recommend it. So I'll have everything linked down below, and anything that might be out of stock right now will pop back up again, and I'll send out a notification over on my mailing list and texting list if you want to be a part of that. I'm going to get the really obvious ones out of the way, just kind of a couple of them here really quickly. It is first up, Lamal Elixir. And so I've talked about this one a million times. I think wherever you look, when we're kind of recapping this year's best releases, you're going to see this one front and center, most likely, because it was a really good release. It started off strong. This one has everything that it needs to do well. It's got the marketing, has the just flanker appeal, has the fact that it's a true parfum. The presentation is a big bonus. It's also still riding the momentum that Ultra Male and Lamal Le Parfum have generated. And so really, it wasn't going to be too challenging for them to release something like this that would end up doing really well, as long as they played their cards right and they didn't completely screw it up, which they could have, and then they would have ruined all that momentum, but they kept it going with this one. It's got honey and tobacco, essentially, is what this one is focusing on. And you still get some of the Lamal Le Parfum kind of vanilla in here, and then some of that original lavender as well. It's a really, really well done, more sophisticated and grown-up version of essentially all of the other ones. The original has a bit of that playful feel, and most people aren't going to be wearing it anymore. Ultra Male was very sweet and very playful and young. This one just has a bit more of a maturity to it. It's one that's been popping up on discounters here recently for a pretty solid price, so it's always one of those deals where probably best to hold out and wait so you can get it and save some money. Ultimately, though, I think it's one that is worth having around. Definitely add this to your collection as soon as you can. This next one is Aqua Deo Parfum, and so the deal with this one is very simple. It is the replacement of Profumo. Why exactly they're doing this, I'm not entirely sure. I just kind of look at it as they're simplifying the line. Now they have an EDT, an EDP, and a parfum, whereas Profumo, which was also a parfum, maybe kind of felt a bit separate. And then there was also, Profondo, and still is Profondo and things like that, and a few other flankers. But now they're able to market these and just make it a little bit more simplistic and just kind of say, okay, here's the levels of intensity, EDT, EDP, parfum, and it's just kind of all contained into one lineup there. And maybe that makes it easier for people to understand. I'm not sure. It wasn't hard for us in the fragrance community to figure it out, but maybe people who just aren't really invested in this, maybe that was a bottleneck. I'm not sure. Regardless of that, there's no need to stress. If you're a big fan of Profumo like I am, and you already have Profumo, that means that this is not going to be a requirement right now. But down the road, when you finish your bottle of Profumo, it's nice to be able to have this one. If you're someone who has yet to buy Profumo, but you've seen it hyped up, you can get the Parfum, and it does the same thing. So, if you're someone who doesn't have this DNA in your collection, I recommend it highly. If you're someone who has it already, then this is not something you need right now. So just make sure that's clear. It's Aqua Deo, but with some incense and a little bit of a smoky kick, right? And some patchouli. So it's kind of how it is. Smells great, super versatile, mass-pleasing, great compliment factor, great performance. Next up, Parfums de Marly Altair. So this one's actually been my scent of the day 2 days in a row. So over Christmas Eve and Christmas. So today's Christmas when I'm filming this right now. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. It's a day late by the time you're seeing this. But yeah, I was just kind of in the mood for this. I've been craving it a lot. And it's one of those things, and I've said this before, again, beating a dead horse, but every time I smell it, I just love it more. And so been wearing it a lot, been craving it a lot. And whenever I get to the point where I'm wearing something a couple days in a row like this, that means I'm really liking it. And I kind of tend to get in the habit of things where it's like if I'm enjoying a scent, I just want to continue to wear it. I'm not going to wear this one again tomorrow. I'm going to change it up now. It felt perfect for the holidays. It has praline, vanilla, tonka bean. It smells so good. It's another obviously very sweet release from PDM, kind of in the same vein of Latent in terms of its mass appeal and sweetness. This is actually probably maybe a bit sweeter than Latent, or at least it's kind of presented that way. But you get what I'm saying. It's going to be something that is very pleasing to a ton of people, and it's still something that you can wear for a lot of situations when it's a bit cold outside. And today it really wasn't even all that cold, at least what we're used to on Christmas. It was like 50, 55 degrees and raining. So that's a little bit unseasonable for around here, but it works great then. It'll work great when it's well below freezing into the single digits as well. For what it's worth, I think this is a stellar release. They did a great job. Going into it, I was a bit unsure of how well it was going to turn out, but I'm impressed. I like it. I'm going to continue to wear this one a lot here as it's going to continue to stay cold, and I think it's one that really is a good scent overall. One you should check out for sure. Next up, we have LOM Idol Platine Privé. So this is their fresh take on the line. It's all it is. And so this has been done before. You guys remember it. LOM Idol Cologne and Cool. So this is the third time that they've essentially released this. And I'm not saying it's exactly the same as those two, but it's very close, much closer to Cologne than Cool. Cool had a mint note and, kind of evident by the look of the bottle, had this green tint to it, and probably one of their best looking bottles within the line. It was a great scent, but that didn't last very long. Cologne essentially got discontinued right at the peak of its hype, I think, when it was really starting to catch on. That's when it started to get hard to find. Go figure. This is one that's also being marketed as a limited edition right now. So make sure you have that in your mind. If you're going to be dragging your feet on this, maybe don't do that. Okay, so we know right off the rip, it's not going to be around forever. And really, it's just the most wearable version of this DNA. I think it's better than Sport, which might even be discontinued, maybe a bit harder to get now. But if you just want something that isn't as intense and extreme as the L'Intense or the EDP or the Extreme, then check this one out for sure. Very, very great stuff. Next up, we have Hugo Boss Bottled Elixir. So this one ended up being phenomenal as well. Very impressive. Better than what you might think. Olibanum, patchouli, and cedarwood in here. It's resinous, smoky, spicy, woody, masculine, and not your typical release. It really separates itself from the other Boss Bottleds, which focus heavily on apple and cinnamon and things like that primarily, especially the original and the Intense and things like that. Boss Bottled Oud also focuses in on that, but adds just a little bit of oud. This is going to be one that probably stands out the most within this lineup and is the most different. It still has some of that Boss Bottled DNA hidden somewhere in there, kind of in the base, but not as much as some of the others. And I think in this instance here, where there have been so many flankers within this line, I don't view that as a bad thing. Again, if you want something that's going to just stand out above a lot of other scents out there on the market, but still something that is from a big name brand that's still going to be something you can wear and people are going to like the smell of, I would check this out. CH Men Pion. I was really excited to see this one because it has iris. There's also some sandalwood and some vanilla in here. And so, they essentially peaked with CH Men Privé, in my opinion. And they discontinued that one, has been for a while. The original CH Men is really good, but then they released a few that just were okay, not all that exciting. And so they're kind of turning things around a little bit with this release. It's iris with kind of a dusty, powdery, sandalwood, slight sweetness in here. It smells so good. Phenomenal release. But it doesn't smell like your typical iris scents either, or the hyped up ones like DHI, VUI, Gentleman EDP, Reserve Privé, and so on. It kind of stands out on its own. It also doesn't necessarily smell like CH Men either, so kind of just doing its own thing here, and I really respect that. Also, and I've said this before, but the retail price on this compared to a lot of these other new releases is very reasonable. I'm talking like, I think it's about $98. I don't think it's quite into the 100s. So that's very uncommon with new releases these days. So all of that to say, I think this is a really, really good scent for the price. Next up, we have Prada Luna Rosa Ocean EDP, a very easy one to kind of pass or skip over because maybe the EDT wasn't all that exciting for you, and that's a fair point. But I have to say the EDP is miles ahead of the original. It's got vanilla, amber extreme, and frankincense. It's impressive, to say the least. And I'm guilty of that thought process as well. The original Ocean not being all that exciting, and so naturally I was like, yeah, they're just releasing an EDP. It's going to be very similar to that original, just maybe a bit stronger, slap EDP on it and throw it out there. And, brands haven't been unknown to do that. And so it's kind of what I was thinking, and a lot of people were probably thinking. Turns out I was wrong, and this is actually really nice. It doesn't have too much of an oceanic smell like you might expect. And to be fair, the original doesn't either, but this one especially doesn't. The frankincense is giving it just a little bit of a smoky kick, a little bit of a resinous feel, some sweetness going on, some nice woods in the dry down as well. I think for what it's worth, this is something that's a little bit more interesting, and I think it's going to end up being one of their better releases, especially for this year. It was great. Next one here is another niche product. However, this stuff is retailing for $180, but realistically, you're going to be looking right at around $100. And I think I paid, what was it? Ended up popping up for maybe, maybe 85 to 90. Might even been a little bit less. I can't remember, but it hit discounters quick. And typically, scents from this brand are falling in that sub $100 price point. Manera Cosmic Pepper. Oh man, so good. Another one where on paper, you might not think twice about it. You just might look at it and go, okay, kind of a filler release, I'm going to pass on it. And I want to encourage you to not do that. Give it a sample, give it a try, give it a blind buy if you are pretty confident in what you like. And I'll explain the scent here in a second, but it's really good stuff. And also, I'm not saying to go out and blind buy it at retail either, or buy it at retail. Don't, because it pops up for about half the price roughly. So just wait around a little bit. Okay, so what does this one smell like? And to me, it smells like a mixture of a few things. And I've done a full review on this one, by the way, if you want to check that out for more detail. But just to keep it moving quick, it kind of smells a bit like a Chanel Allure Homme Sport, Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme meets YSL La Nuit de l'Homme. It's peppery, just like La Nuit de l'Homme, with that spicy kick, and La Nuit has that cardamom kind of warm spiciness as well, but it still has that peppery kick. And then you're getting some kind of creamy, aldehydic, fresher notes, kind of similar to how Allure Homme Sport and Eau Extreme operate. And so that's kind of what it is. To me, it's like a mixture of those three scents. And that might sound not all that exciting, and I understand that. But when you smell this one, it truly is remarkable. And for me, a lot of it's going to come down to the fact that I really like those scents that I just mentioned. A lot of those go back to the very beginnings of my collection. And so I've been wearing them for years. I love them. Like, I wear those all the time. La Nuit de l'Homme, I wear in the evenings when I'm at home just hanging out. The Allure Homme Sports, Sport and Eau Extreme, I wear those a lot in spring and early summer. They're just great scents. And so when I have something that kind of takes the best of both, or not the best of both worlds, but the best of each of those scents and kind of mixes it into one and then does their own twist on it, immediately I'm really going to like it. It has great performance. You're going to find that this actually performs better than those scents that I've been talking about, which is a big bonus. The pricing on this one is going to be about in line with or slightly lower than a bottle of Lamal Elixir or a bottle of either the Chanel's, right? So price point is also very reasonable. When we're talking discounters, I'm not talking retail because retail is unrealistic for Manera's. And so all things to say, this is a really solid release. I think this one has the potential to do really well long term. It might not blow up and become a hype beast like Dior did, for example, or whatever else from the brand. But I do think it's a really good, versatile workhorse signature scent, and it's a great entry into the brand and into niche in general. This last one, well, actually, this is not the last, second to last one. It's very expensive, kind of crazy. It's got Orange Blossom, Amber Fix, Benzoin. It's Gucci Guilty Elixir Eau de Parfum. Oh, man, it's up into the mid 100s for this. Always got to double check. 60 ml. I believe this is the only bottle size being offered currently, or at least it was when I bought it. They might roll out some more like they did with Sauvage Elixir, but I don't know. And it kind of looks like they're modeling this after the whole release of Sauvage Elixir. Small bottle, huge inflated price. Sauvage Elixir is a great scent, and to me it's worth it. This one is still a great scent, and I still think it's worth it. Would I recommend waiting around and buying it at discounters? Yeah, I would, but what can you do? Also, to be fair, these Gucci's usually aren't heavily discounted, but anything is better than nothing when we're talking about saving some money. To me, it smells a little bit like Amouage Reflection Man, but more so Reflection Man 45 Extrait, the Beast Mode Powerhouse version, because this has stronger performance than the original EDP of Reflection Man. It's also heavier, richer, stronger, and more dense and more complex than the EDP, and just kind of more in line with how the Extrait is kind of giving off. Has its own twist as well. You get some of that Gucci Guilty kind of green, citrusy DNA in here, the orange blossom and things like that. But it's kind of just a good ballpark, descriptor of this scent. I think this is another one where it's going to end up doing really well. It's going to be for people who just have more of a budget generally, but not necessarily either. You could save up for this one, get decants. There will be clones at some point, and I think the clones will do really well of this one, if it ends up doing well. So ultimately, I think it's a really good release for this year, one that is pretty exciting for me. I really like how it smells. And we're going to finish this one off with one more niche. It is Rosa Elysium Eau Intense. Love the bottle. That presentation is great. Frosted glass with kind of that cap to match. Very sharp, very crisp. Not as much of a fingerprint magnet as some of the others, and that's pretty nice. It's fresher than Elysium to me, so you're going to get some grapefruit, rhubarb, blackcurrant, and then also a lot of vetiver, just like in the original Elysium and the Parfum Cologne. You guys know what I'm saying. But instead of being more intense, I view it as a bit more brighter and fresher. And that's also kind of alluded to by the presentation, which has that eau fresh frosted glass kind of look to it. Regardless of that, the naming convention or whatever, I think it's going to be something that is just going to work really well and did work pretty well just when it's warmer outside, when the sun is out and all of that stuff. And it's not to say that the original Elysium can't be worn in the summertime, because it can and it works really well. But I have seen comments before, especially, when you pick up on that vetiver so much, that it might not always be people's favorite choice for when it's really hot outside. And so this is going to be an option that might work a bit better for you. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some of the best releases of 2023. It was a great year, and I'm excited to see what's going to be coming in 2024. It's going to be hard to beat some of these in my opinion, but we'll see. I'll link them down below, and for anything that's out of stock right now on discounters, if you jump on my mailing list and texting list at the link and number down below, I always send out notifications when good stuff, rare, discontinued, hard to find things come into stock. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.